He had already bled for this country. He had already worn the uniform. He had already carried the wounds of war. Hosea Williams came home from World War II with a Purple Heart and a permanent limp. He survived combat. He survived injury. He survived more than a year in a hospital overseas. But when he came home to Georgia, none of that protected him. Not the uniform, not the sacrifice, because in the eyes of the country he fought for, he was still a black man in the South. At a bus station in Americus, Georgia, he stepped off the bus, tired, wounded, but alive. He walked toward a water fountain marked white only, and like any man, he reached for a drink. That's when everything changed. White men saw him, and they beat him. They beat him so badly. They believed he was dead. A Purple Heart soldier nearly killed at a bus station in his own country. This is how we got here. Before Selma, before the bridge, before the movement knew his name, before Hosea Williams became a force for justice, he was a wounded soldier coming home to a country that refused to see him as human. And if we want to understand the man he became, we have to begin here. That moment at the bus station was not the beginning of Hosea Williams' story. It was only the moment the world finally caught up to it. Hosea Lorenzo Williams was born on the 5th of January, 1926, in Attapogus, Georgia. And from the very beginning, life did not make it easy for him. His mother, a blind teenager, died shortly after giving birth. His father was absent, so he was raised by his grandparents in the Deep South, where survival was not guaranteed and childhood did not last long. He learned early how the world saw him, not as a child to be protected, but as a black boy expected to know his place. And in that world, even a simple friendship could become dangerous. As a teenager, Hosea made a choice. He befriended a white girl, not out of rebellion, but out of something simple, human. And for that, he was marked. A mob formed, and suddenly, the boy, who had done nothing wrong, was running for his life. He had to flee his home, leave everything behind, just to survive. That was the lesson. Not taught in a classroom, not written in a book, but carved into his life. In America, a black boy could be hunted for simply crossing an invisible line. But Hosea Williams did not break. He carried that moment with him. The fear, the anger, the understanding. And one day, he would turn it into something else. Because the same country that forced him to run would soon call him to fight. After running for his life as a boy, Hosea Williams did not get to have a normal childhood. He learned early that in America, even being young did not make you safe. Even being innocent did not make you safe. And that is important because the fear he met at home did not break him. It pushed him forward. Then came World War II. Hosea Williams enlisted in the United States Army and served in Europe in an all-black unit attached to General George Patton's Third Army. Sources also identify him as a staff sergeant. I want us to sit with that for a moment. This was a young black man from the South in a segregated army, putting on that uniform and stepping into war anyway. He was willing to fight for a country that still had not learned how to treat him like a full human being. That is part of the pain of this story, and that is part of the problem. He was not on the edges of the war. He was in it. In Europe, Hosea Williams was severely wounded in combat. The sources agree on that core fact, even though they do not all tell the battlefield details the same way. So I do not need to make this bigger than it already is. The truth is already heavy enough. He was wounded badly enough to spend about a year recovering in a military hospital in Europe. He came home with a Purple Heart, and he carried a permanent limp for the rest of his life. Please hear what that means. This was not a man coming home untouched. This was not a man coming home with some distant story about war. This was a wounded American soldier, a man who had already paid in blood, a man whose body carried the evidence. And this is where the story becomes almost unbearable, because after war, after pain, after the hospital, after the Purple Heart, Hosea Williams still came home to a country that was not ready to give him basic dignity. See, that is the problem I need us to understand. The uniform did not protect him from racism. His service did not protect him from racism. His wounds did not protect him from racism. Not even a Purple Heart could make this country see him the way it should have. He had served America overseas. But America still had not dealt with what it was doing to black people at home. And that is what makes the next moment hit so hard. Because when Hosea Williams came back home, he was not just a black man from Georgia. He was a wounded soldier. He was a man who had already suffered for his country, and still, what waited for him here was humiliation. He survived war in Europe. Now he was about to face America's racism at home. If this story is speaking to you, please subscribe to From Chains to Change. Like, share, and stay with me because this story is not over. Coming up, we will step into the moment that changed everything. And later, we will follow Hosea Williams into the movement, into SCLC, and into the legacy connected to the Scope Project.